for the work week here. Um, but the extra day off was cool. Had some rain and then the sun came out, mowed the lawn. It's going to be a warmer week this week, so I'm excited for that. So we've been in the study of Job, and we're in Job chapter 38. And in Job chapter 38, God asks some tough questions to reveal himself and his power and his authority to Job, and then also to make Job understand like his thinking is wrong. And so it opens up with, then the Lord answered Job in the whirlwind. Now this whirlwind is a reflection of Elihu's description, and it Elihu's description from 37, it essentially comes alive, right? So Elihu in that he's prophetic in that, right? And God opens up and he speaks out of the storm. And he says, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? So how many times I think about, do uh, we speak on something from what we see, but we don't have the background knowledge of how it got there, right? And um, we sometimes we think we have the full understanding of God, but we don't, right? We won't have that until the next life, right? And so then he calls him, he says, dress for action like a man, I will question you, and you make it known to me. Now, Job, he called out God and said he wanted to see him in court, right? And so now he's telling him, put on your courtroom attire. I'm gonna question you, and let's see what you got. And so then he goes into a building reference, 4 verses 4 through 6. He's using, the building from foundation, right? So where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Okay, so he's laying down the foundation. Hey, Isaac. And then tell me if you have understanding. So, God's asking Job, do you have understanding that you could lay down the foundation of the earth? Um, who determined its measurements? Surely you know, or who stretched the line upon it? All right, Job. So you think you know it all? Can you do that? Right? Can you do that? Were you there, or did you do that? On what were the bases sunk, and who laid its cornerstone? So this building metaphor, he lays out there, and then he says, and this is one of the most quoted verses, especially when talking about angels and demons and all that stuff. Um, verse 7, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So here the foundations of the world were made. Now we know the earth was created on day 3. So what's that tell us? That the angels and demons were created before day 3. Okay? Because they were there when he created it and they sung for joy. And so we know he's talking about the heavenly host because it started this whole um, interaction between uh, God, Satan, Job, the 3 friends, Elihu, and all of this. It all started in the throne room, right? And so we know that they have access. We know that angels and demons have access to the throne room now too. So does Satan. Or who shut in the sea? So, 8 through 11. This really illustrates the power of God, right? Because if you think about the sea, water, it really has no form, right? Unless it's in a cup, then it has the form of a cup. It has no form uh, unless it's frozen, right? And so it's frozen in a cube or whatever. Uh, it it cannot really be controlled, right? But here, who shut in the sea with doors when it is burst out from the womb? God, right? God. And so God reveals his power in how he controls something that's um, essentially limitless or boundaryless, right? So he put boundaries up for water. Now, um, in 12 through 18, these these are really good questions with answers, right? Um, and he parallels his knowledge, right? God's knowledge and power and reach in creation to God's power and knowledge and reach in justice and judgment. Because the whole thing here, well, not the whole thing, but a lot of what Job's contention is that the wicked have great lives, live a long time and prosperous, and the good and the righteous, right? They have punishment, right? Because Job is contending that he's righteous and therefore he does not deserve this punishment when he knows there's wicked people who have wonderful lives with lots of things, right? And so here in 12 through 18, he says, "Have you commanded the mornings since the days began and caused the dawn to know its place?" Right? That it might take hold of the skirts of the earth and the wicked be shaken out of it. See, just like God commands uh, the morning as the sun comes up and the light reveals things, right? And so does he with the wicked, and it's going to be shaken out, right? Justice and judgment. It is changed like clay under the seal, and its features stand out like a garment. Now, what is that? When the sun comes up, it reveals the earth, right? When his justice and judgment comes, it's going to reveal the wicked. Uh, from the wicked, their light is withheld, and their uplifted arm is broken. Justice and judgment. See, God sees it. He sees it, and you know, there's no darkness is going to hide from light. It just can't, right? The light pushes it back. One little candle in a dark room, it lights up the whole thing, right? Uh, 16. Have you entered into the springs of the sea and walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of deep darkness, justice and judgment? Okay, Job, like what you see here isn't what's gonna happen, or you don't know what's happening, right? So, I gotta think to myself, am I so presumptuous to be able to understand or know somebody's judgment? How many times do we judge somebody? How many times driving down the street and we see a homeless person or something, we say like, I wonder what choices they made. Who's the righteous one there? Hmm. Yeah, like we really got to ask ourselves these things. Um, I got to keep it moving though. I like 22 and 23. Have you entered the storehouses of snow, and have you seen the storehouses of hail, which I have reserved for time of trouble and the day of battle and more? So there's a lot more that he's got stored up that we don't know about, that we don't see. And he's saving it, right? And we do know that there is a battle coming, right? We do know that there's a battle of Armageddon, and it will be a great war, and he's got something stored up for that too, and Jesus is coming for that, right? Like he, there, there's so much that God has stored up that we'll never understand, we'll never see. Now, 25 through 30, um, you know, he like water, okay, like water, God can bring damage, destruction, or he can bring life, right? And we need water, right? We need it because otherwise, without it, what we're dry bones, right? Without it, we're dry bones. And just like we need water, we need God. Okay, just like we need water, we need Christ. And that also carries over into 34 through 38, talking about the rain, right? And um, who has put wisdom in the inward parts, or given understanding to the mind? Who can number the clouds by wisdom, or who can tilt the water skins of heavens? When the dust runs into a mass, and the clods stick fast together. Yeah, like we need water, right? We need to be able to do that. But who controls it? Who gives the life to the dry bones? Is it me? No, 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 no. It's God. See, it's God. And then he God ends this chapter with, this is amazing, because if you think about this, can you hunt prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of young lions? No, I cannot. Can I hunt better than a lion? No, I cannot. You're part of the problem. Yeah, okay. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Yeah, for sure. And let me tell you where it comes from. It comes from God. The solution is in Jesus Christ. And if you're not in Jesus Christ, then what? You're part of the problem. Clearly. That's a good quote. Sizzle Moon Song, good quote. So picture me being able to hunt for a lion. It ain't happening. Right? I'm not a better hunter than a lion. Okay? So Job, you're not a better judge or justice deliverer, right, than God. Don't try to be. I'm not going to try and hunt for a lion. Why should I try to implement justice for God, right? And so, who provides, and who is a better hunter than a lion? Only God. And then he finishes it with, who provides for a raven its prey when its young ones cry to God for help and wander about for lack of food? How am I going to provide for a scavenger? I can't, but God does. See, birds, they don't uh, reap and sow, yet they still have food. That's Matthew 6. You know, God provides, right? God provides, and they just go about calling out to God, and that's where we need to be, going out, calling out to God. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day.